Living for the people on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, here we go. Living for the people. This is L. Nathan here. Welcome you to our broadcast. Focus on providing you insight into events shaping our national and regional world and the facts behind those events and policies that are shaping our world for today and for tomorrow. Join us weekly on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. following Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! Program. And of course, our program is live, so you can call and you can join our discussion. We really hope that you will. Our number here again is 716-878-5104. That's 716-878-5104. We're also here with our in-studio audience of one, Norm MacArthur. How you doing there, Norm?
Doing pretty good, Mr. Hare. Good morning, sir.
Were you able to get to Carter move with all that money?
Mr. Hare, I don't know about the money, but
we missed the money. We'll accept the car. Okay. And of course, we're here with Willie H., who is our citizen of the 21st century, who does the live streaming of the program. He's our engineer. He's our IT technician, and so on. Willie, I'm always lathering you up, but you do stuff that we don't know how to do, so we just appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I have the privilege of being a music lover and a techie guy. You know, I like setting up equipment and PA, so that's what I do.
That's what I do here. That's what I do here.
So we are at Living for the People with L. Nathan here. We hear y'all every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Just sharing with you what we know about politics, financial, the war, whatever. Mr. L here, call live, 716-878-5104.
And of course, today's discussion should be lively. I want to talk a little bit about the Hunter Biden investigation. In my notes, I wrote
hey, Mr. Hare, before you go on,
sure.
I'm sorry I've been hearing people talk, which is stupid. They making, I don't know, with this Biden thing, they're making them sound like they're mob, like they're criminals. No, really.
That is exactly what they're trying to present.
Okay.
They're trying to present this is what's so disturbing.
Yeah.
The Republicans they continuously do this.
Yeah.
They come up with a script based on some fact,
mm-hmm.
and then they put a spin on the fact that creates a lie out of the fact.
Right.
So it's a fact that Hunter Biden is the son of Joe Biden.
Right.
That's a fact.
Right.
That doesn't turn Joe Biden into the mafioso Don and Hunter Biden being, Don Corleone or whatever.
And of course, they trying to, Biden is the real criminal, the mobs and all that family, the Biden crime family, and Trump is just innocent. They trying to,
Now, we just went through the Trump administration, and you saw Trump's daughter as the senior advisor to the president getting your money every week.
Wow.
Probably something like $150,000 a year. Her husband, he gets to be another senior advisor of Donald Trump. When he leaves office, he gets a $2 billion gift from the Saudis. I shouldn't say gift. It wasn't money that was put into his bank account for his own use.
Right.
But he developed a investment fund, like, hedge funds and all that stuff. He had an investment fund.
Right.
And if you put $2 billion in somebody's investment fund, and then you get commissions off of every trade that's made out of that fund,
mm-hmm.
you can get real rich real quick.
Right.
If you got $2 billion and you got just 1% of $2 billion, you're up in the $20 million range. Right. So that to me is Don Corleone type stuff. I mean, that's the mob.
Yeah, but here's the spin on this that I'm hearing in my neighborhood now. I'm talking with other black folks. Here's the spin. They're basically saying, Biden's the crime boss family, and Trump is the rich guy that's not playing by the rules, and that's why whoever is trying to come against him so he doesn't become president, meaning that he really won the presidency because he didn't go by the rules because he's already rich. And that's the thing I'm starting to hear more and more now.
Well, I'm really hoping that out of the 50 million African people in the United States, not more than 3 think what you just said is true.
I've heard it from about 3 people.
You should slap anybody who says that to you. That does not make any sense at all. I get it that that's what people are saying.
Yeah.
These are the people, when you talk to them, they act like they're deep.
Yeah,
no, man,
and that's true too. That's true too.
You don't understand, man.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. This is what's really going on.
Wake up, man.
That's not what's really going on, right? So what the Republicans do is they make up a story, and then they just have all of their media outlets. And remember, who owns the media?
That's correct.
It's not owned by the orderly, at Kaleida, at Buffalo General Hospital. The media is owned by Ted Turner's, and the Elon Musk, and the Zuckerbergs.
Well, it seems like Elon Musk
these are the media,
over.
Right?
Yeah.
And what is their interest? They're extremely rich people. We're not talking about just millionaires.
Yeah,
these are billionaire type people,
and they want power too.
They want power, and they want to keep getting more money.
Right.
Right. And I mean, that's their trophy.
Yeah.
Every year. What'd you get, Elon?
Yeah, that's it.
What'd you get, Zuckerberg?
Yeah, that's it. That's what they do.
That's their trophy.
That's what they do.
So they're constantly manipulating the rest of us to keep going along with their script. They want people to keep as much money of what they made as possible. So they keep lowering tax rates, but they keep increasing the obligations that people have as a country that we have to deal with as a country.
Right.
You got floods, you got fires, you got healthcare, you got pandemics, you got retirements, you got old age, you got all kinds of things that we have to do collectively as a country.
Right.
And if you keep reducing taxes, you reduce the country's ability to be able to pay for those things. So what we do is we start borrowing money from the future, hoping that maybe somebody will get elected in the future that has like one kernel of common sense, and they'll start making policies that allow us to be able to create the revenue streams and the efficiencies that we need to be able to operate within our means as a government.
Right.
But that's not what's happening right now. So the Republicans have put this script out that Joe Biden is the head of a crime family. Then they tell you, well, here's the evidence. Joe Biden's son, he made $5.8 million from the Ukrainians, from one of their oil companies. Oh, so that's a horrible thing. That probably is insider kind of deal. But remember, this happened during the Trump administration. Biden was not an official of the government at all. He was not the vice president. He was the former vice president.
Right.
He was not the president. He was yet to become president. This is during the 4-year period that Trump was the president of the country. So you can't call it insider trading if Joe Biden's son learned or developed some relationships with people during a time when he was vice president, and when he was no longer vice president, his son took advantage of some of those relationships.
Right.
You can't hold Biden to account for that. That's not illegal. So it's not illegal for you to say, this guy's my friend, and if you need to make a move, go talk to him.
Right.
He knows how to do it.
Right.
Go ahead, Norm.
Mr. Just a quick question. Would it be illegal if he developed these relationships during the period of time?
If it was during his vice presidency, it may not be illegal if you took it to court and took it to all the appeals and whatnot, but it's certainly shady, and more than likely you would get sued, if that were being done. I think it would be illegal if you're in office right now and your kids are trading on the relationships that you have while you're in office. I think that would be illegal.
Okay, but relationships are, you got different conversations.
Well, that's what makes it waffly. You could say, well, I've known this guy since me and Nate we went to kindergarten together. That's true.
Yeah,
there's 17 other boys that I went to kindergarten with too, right? They're my relationships.
Right.
But if 2 of them, were guys that were investment, brokers, and I gave them information about other folks that I knew that could help them to be able to manipulate, some stocks and whatnot, that would be illegal. for me to do that if I was an elected official.
Well, let me just ask one more thing. Now, with being in office and nepotism and the different things that go along with nepotism, bringing people in and jobs and that type of thing, is that illegal? Gaining a job due to who as far as
it's supposedly illegal, but remember, most of government work is civil service. They're not appointed people. These are people that took tests. They qualified through the test. They got on a list. Yeah. They got pulled from the top 3, people on the list for that job. That's the process, right?
Okay.
So
you see where I'm going, though. I'm just when you look at.
I'm with you. So the nepotism is Ivanka Trump becoming a senior advisor.
All of these things dealing with Mr. Trump,
right,
and the way his family has stepped their game up. If these things are illegal, which it would seem that
but clearly it was not illegal nepotism for Trump to hire his daughter, because it was done in broad daylight. She was his senior advisor for 4 years. If there was a legal problem with that, somebody would have prosecuted that a long time ago.
Okay.
The same thing with her husband, right? That's nepotism as well. But it wasn't illegal because he had the authority to appoint people to those positions. He could appoint anybody he wanted.
Would it be considered unethical?
Well, I wouldn't say it was unethical per se. Robert Kennedy was the brother of John Kennedy.
Okay.
Robert Kennedy was his campaign manager. Yeah. And after he became president, Robert Kennedy became the Attorney General for the United States.
AG. Yes,
that's as nepotism as it gets, right?
Yeah.
So, but he was eminently qualified to do that work. He was a lawyer. He was a prosecutor. He had run big administrations. He was a dude.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
He was a champion type dude. So it wasn't like it was hiring somebody who was unprepared, who was incompetent, and so on. So it gets dicey when we start talking about this. But the overall view of it, the way it feels, is if you are a elected office holder and you start using your elected office to hire your kids and your cousins and your nieces and your uncles, and so on.
Let's be
we didn't elect you. We didn't elect you to create a jobs program.
But
for your
let's
family.
be honest. Everybody that gets in these positions, most folks
they do some of that.
That's exactly what
not all of it. Only really Willie H does all of it. The rest of us just do some.
But put your whole family in, man. That is kind of.
So this thing with Hunter Biden that is so egregious. It is true that Hunter Biden made $5.8 million out of the, I think it was, I forget the name of the company. It starts with a B. This Russian oil company made $5.8 million out of his board relationship, with them. Get all of that. And that seems, a little soft. Biden was the former vice president. He had a relationship with these Ukrainians. He used that relationship to grease the skids for his son to be able to, work for them. Right. I mean, that's how he got in a position to work for them in the first place. Right. Otherwise, how would they have even known who he was? Right. So it had to be through the relationship that was developed, by Joe Biden himself. But that's one thing. Donald Trump personally made $6.3 million, right? That went directly to him, not to his kids, that went directly to him, right? During the time that he was the president. He used the office of the presidency to make money for himself.
Well, I think
he put money into his golf clubs. He put money into his hotels, right? I mean, he was selling bottled water that had Trump's name on the bottle.
But I think everybody in America knew he was going to do that. I really believe that.
I accept that. That doesn't make it less illegal. It's still illegal. Just because I knew you were going to do it doesn't mean it's not illegal, right? So James Comer, Republican, is the head of the House Oversight Committee. You know that when you're the majority in a House, in the Senate or the House of Representatives, the majority gets to appoint who the leader is for that house. So in the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House is the leader, the one who sets the agenda in the House. In the Senate, it's the majority leader, which was Mitch McConnell, who's now the minority leader in the House of the Senate. And so James Comer, this Republican, he heads this House Oversight Committee. So he's the one who's been championing this, essentially a fake investigation of Hunter Biden. They started this investigation 5 years ago. They have long debunked virtually everything that has been asserted about Hunter Biden. All been investigated 3 or 4 times by 3 or 4 different government committees, investigative committees. They just resurrect this thing again. They do it over and over and over again because, as we've said many times on this program before, people become what they hear. So if you keep hearing that Hunter Biden is being investigated,
Yes, sir.
that becomes the script that's in your mind.
Right.
As you
Yep.
told us before, gaslighting and deflection.
Constantly,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So they got these 2 so-called whistleblowers. One guy's name is Ziegler, and the other guy's name is Shapley. Shapley was the deputy in the Justice Department assigned to this investigation, and his assistant, or Ziegler, was the assistant of Shapley. Let me say it that way. Was the assistant to Shapley. Now, these 2 guys are Republicans. Now, inside a government, people don't lose their political affiliation just because they got a civil service job, right? So these are guys who have civil service jobs, but they're Republicans. Most of the police are conservative. How many police do you see running around with ponytails, talking about we shall overcome? Never see that, do you? Because the police generally are very conservative, and they're trying to keep power in the order that power currently is. They're not trying to make room for other people to have power. They're trying to keep power where power currently is. Well, that's the same situation you have in the Justice Department. The people that make up the Justice Department are prosecutors. They're investigators working on behalf of the Justice Department to investigate crimes. So they tend to be people that are trying to keep the lid on stuff. Let's keep power where it is. They're not people trying to make room for other people. They're not trying to empower the Black Lives Matter movement, and
when you look at it, most of them are probably all Republican.
Just about, right?
I mean,
so you got to figure that when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States and he's championing, let's keep, white nationalism in place. Let's keep men in power over women. Let's keep our control over what gets taught, in schools. Let's keep control over who has access to the vote. Let's keep control over how districts are set up so we can control who gets to get elected as a member of the House of Representatives, and all those kinds of things.
Let's make sure the money is still coming to us and not them.
I mean, that's what they do, right? Because that's what's in their interest. That's the world they want to preserve, right? And so you get 2 of these guys that claim that they're whistleblowers now. Now what are they blowing the whistle about? They're saying that, well, when we were discussing what to do in the Hunter Biden case, there were guys over there that said, you shouldn't be investigating that. You should let that go. Joe Biden is the president. At that time, Joe Biden wasn't the president. He was the vice president. He was the ex-vice president of the United States. Well, he's in a political family. We shouldn't be investigating. Those conversations go on. They happen amongst us, right? We'll argue about, I see it one way, you see it another way, right? There's always different differences.
Right.
The reality is that David Weiss was appointed to be the what do you call it? The special counsel investigating Hunter Biden on behalf of the Justice Department. David Weiss was given authority to move the investigation in whatever direction he wanted. If he felt that there was enough on Hunter Biden to actually bring charges against Hunter Biden for something that he did, he had the authority to do that. He didn't have to go to the Merrick Garland, who is now the Attorney General for the United States. He didn't have to ask Merrick Garland's opinion. He was able to do that on his own authority. Now, I'm not saying that based on rumor. David Weiss sent letters to the House of Representatives several times telling them I had complete authority to do whatever I felt I needed to do to move the Hunter Biden investigation in whatever direction I thought it needed to move into. I didn't bring different charges than I ultimately brought against Hunter Biden because I didn't think they were provable. Not that, there wasn't something murky about it. Something being murky and something being provable are two different things. Look what's happening with Donald Trump right now. The media has been telling you day in and day out, sometimes 56 times a day on every single media station, they're telling you that, well, on the conspiracy, to aid and abet the insurrection against the United States, you can't prove that unless you can prove Donald Trump's intent. Well, how do you prove somebody's intent? Well, you have to open up his scalp and the door, on the top of his head, and look in there and say, oh, there's the record right there. Of course, how are you going to prove somebody's intent? That's like if I lie to you, but you can't hold me to account unless you can prove that I intended to lie to you. How do I prove that you intended to lie to me? If you are getting a benefit out of lying to me, if you lying to me created a benefit for you or created a benefit for me, then by inference, the reason why you told the lie was to create that benefit to one person or to another. That's the reason why you told the lie. I don't have to have, a recording, or a videotape of what went on inside your head. That would be impossible for me to do. But that's what the media is telling you has to be done to prove that Donald Trump was guilty of aiding and abetting the insurrection against the United States. Now, you all were alive the same time I was alive, right? You saw the insurrection going on.
Yes, sir.
You saw all of the stuff that Donald Trump was saying and doing during the course of that time period. Is there any doubt in your mind that Donald Trump was trying to rally people together? His goal, you may not have understood his goal, but it's clear his goal was to disrupt the joint session of Congress, to create so much muddle that they were not able to actually officially count the electoral votes cast by each of the various states.
Right.
Then muddle up who were the electors for each of the various states, and then say, well, because it's all muddy and muddled, we can't go with that. We have to send the authority back to the state legislatures in each of the 50 states. If you send it back to the state legislatures, each state gets one vote. If you have 30 of the state houses, of the 50 state houses in the country, you have 30 of them in the Republican camp, then you got 30 votes out of 50 that are going to go for Donald Trump.
Right.
And so you could have 160, what was 100, excuse me, not 100, you have something in the area of 83 million American people voted for Joe Biden. 74 million voted for Donald Trump, but 83 million voted for Joe Biden, and their votes would have all been tossed in the can because you would have put this thing into the hands of the state legislatures in each of the 50 states. That was Trump's, out of all of the cards he had to play, that was the last card.
Right.
And he kept setting things up so that, if we keep it moving, if everything else fails, we'll still be able to get to that last card, play that card, that'll be our ace, and we win, right? That's what this thing was all about. Now, I don't have to have a videotape of Trump saying all of this. We have records of all of these conversations that he had with people. We see the actual steps that he was taking. We know that he was moving in this direction. His goal was to invalidate the votes of the American people on November 3rd of 2020. That was his goal. He can't possibly have thought that he won the election. He knew he didn't win the election. Everybody around him said he lost the election. Go ahead,
Norm. I thought that you might say something about the call in, how you change your voice and ask for he needs what 11,000 something votes or whatever.
Well, I just need 11,700. Excuse me, 780 votes. Just 11,780 votes. I just need one more than he got. Just one more. You can find those votes. He told the people in Michigan, you can find 17,000 votes. Just need 17. You can get that. What do you mean you can't get that? You're the governor. Go get it, right? Or whatever. He's got a long record of doing these things, right? So it's clear that his intention was to disavow or to make invalid the vote that was taken on November 3rd of 2020 and replace it with the vote of the state houses that he controlled in the state legislatures around the country. That's what this thing was really all about.
Yes, sir.
It's important that people understand this. Who is it? They keep talking about the weaponization of government. You can see that it's the Republicans who are weaponizing and have been weaponizing government.
Oh, yeah.
When Donald Trump was president, he tried to weaponize the IRS, against two Department of Justice officials he didn't like. He tried to weaponize the Department of Justice to investigate and legal terrorism against groups of people that he didn't like, Black Lives Matter and so on. Weaponizing government is their whole card. That's what they do all the time. And you see it going on right now. Now they're using the power of government to create these fake investigations. And while they're doing this, what are they not doing? They're not doing anything about climate change. They're not doing anything about renewable energy. They're not doing anything to ensure that our auto industry stays intact, that when we transition from gas-powered cars to electric-powered cars, that we don't completely disrupt the car market and destroy industries. I mean, there's lots of things that have to be done right now that should have been done by now, not being done. At some point, somebody in this country is going to have some guts. This is what I mean by guts. These people lower corporate taxes by 41%. You got to have the guts to go back and say, okay, y'all got that, but you're not keeping that.
Right.
We're going to go
sir.
back to what the rates were, in 2019.
Yes, sir.
Or 2016. We're going to put, we're going to take the cost of Medicare and Medicaid and private pay premiums. We're going to put all that stuff together into one pool.
Yes, sir.
We're going to increase your tax rate by 4 or 5%. Everybody, instead of paying, 7.6% or whatever it is for FICA, you're going to pay 11% or 12%. But in return for that, you're not going to have to pay for any premiums for your health insurance forever, right? You're going to have money going into your Social Security account, your Medicare account forever, and so on. But you got to have the kahunas to do that. There'll be a lot of whining, a lot of gnashing of teeth, but you got to do it. In the long run, people will see that they actually are saving money rather than spending more money. But it would spread the obligation out to everybody uniformly instead of having some people that are getting a whole lot and a lot of other people getting very little.
Good people, you have just heard the Hare Initiative. Hey, let me just say this, Mr. Hare. When it comes down to, and this is something that you brought up and you taught us this, when we go back to President Clinton and the way that he lowered taxes over that period of time, I think that is a model that we should go back to trying to. He should have the guts to go ahead and go back and try to utilize
he increased taxes. He increased the taxes for the rich and taxes for corporations. He increased taxes
because over time, over the rest of his time that he has in office, and once he wins again, I think that we could.
And remember, what did you get out of Bill Clinton? You may not have liked his policies, But when he left office, we had a surplus. We had a surplus of something like $200 billion his last year in office.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What do we have in office? I mean, what have we had since then? Trillions of dollars of debt over and over and over again, year in and year out. So that's what we really got to be taking a look at. But listen, we got to take care of our sponsors. So please don't go away. But we'll see you on the other side of the break here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
91.3 FM WBNY is proud to present Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman.
Welcome to Democracy Now!
Award-winning investigative journalism.
Is the NRA imploding?
Providing relevant analysis that makes you think.
Secret State Department documents, including evidence of U.S. war crimes.
Fact-finding reports you will not hear elsewhere. Democracy Now! Airs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on 91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo. Ready for radio that's challenging, innovative, and encouraging? Tune in, Living for the People.
This is L. Nathan here. Join me right here, 91.3 FM WBNY. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 a.m. after Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! We'll provide objective analysis regarding current issues. Call 878-5104. It's Living for the People on 91.3 FM WBNY. All right, welcome back to Living for the People. This is L. Nathan here, your host. We're here with Norm McCarter, our in-studio audience of one. Welcome back, Norm.
Thank you, Mr. Hare.
And we're here with Willie H., who is our IT person. He's our first citizen of the 21st century. He didn't know that. I crowned him that. Welcome back, Willie.
Welcome, everybody, to Living for the People with L. Nathan here, calling y'all, 716-878-5104.
So I went to an article written by Molly Jong-Faust. She writes for Vanity Fair, and she talks about how, despite a series of embarrassments over the ongoing investigations of Hunter Biden, the Republicans are continuing their push to find politically damaging information about the president's son. She says, you'd think that House Republicans might have slowed their roll after their star whistleblower, a guy named Gal Luft. He was an Israeli citizen, American citizen, who claimed to have compromising information on President Joe Biden and his son. He was charged in November with these crimes. This is their star witness. You know, I told you about Ziegler and Shapley, but their star witness was Gal Luft. He was indicted in November in a sealed indictment. He was indicted for being an unregistered foreign agent for China. He was indicted for trafficking arms. He was indicted for breaking international sanctions, and he was indicted for making false statements to federal officials. This is the guy who was the star witness that James Comer and the Jim Jordan and these people pulled together to be the people that we should trust, you know, in terms of their claims about Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. The indictment against them was actually unsealed last week. So now we know what it is that really was taking place. Richie Torres, who's a Democrat out of New York, he told Jong-Faust that the GOP's obsession and culture wars have injected stupidity into today's Republican Party. He says no one or nothing in America is safe from the sheer stupidity of modern Republican politics. He added that the GOP has become monomaniacally anti-woke culture warriors whose ever-lengthening list of targets include acronyms like DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance. They're attacking Barbie. I miss that. Sometimes I miss things. Well, Norm, what's the attack on? Why they mad at Barbie?
Mr. Hare, I have no idea.
Barbie's a doll, right?
I can't fathom that.
Why
sir.
would all these grown men be mad about a doll?
I don't know.
They talking about something about anatomically different or something, or not.
But they don't put the anatomy of the doll. I mean, the doll's just a doll.
I have no idea, sir.
So anyway, they're mad about gas stoves. Now, why are you mad about gas stoves?
Emissions.
Gas stoves emit, carbon into the air.
Yeah.
Right. So you got gas stoves. I mean, how many households are there in the United States? Maybe 150 million. So each one of them has gas stoves, right? That's 150 burners going on all day, every day, week in and week out, month in and month out, forever. So if you could reduce that number from 150 million to say 100 million, right? And the other 50 million were electric and weren't producing any emissions at all.
Yes, sir.
That would be a good deal for us, helping to reduce the carbon dioxide that we have in the air.
Yes, sir.
Why would you be mad about that?
No need.
Because the people that make gas stoves say, well, if you do that, that's going to reduce our market. We're making money off of selling gas stoves. Well, then learn how to make electric stoves.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Don't tell me I got to keep riding a horse and buggy because you don't make a car. If you want to make money in transportation, learn how to make a car.
Do a switch,
do a
and
scooter.
Then learn how to do it, and wind up probably making more money than you made before.
I mean, who are the people to have the money? If you're the oil companies, you got money out the yin yang.
Yeah.
I may have ideas. I may be a scientist in the lab, and I worked out a way to make new energy.
Right.
But I can't capitalize it because I only make $150,000, $200,000 a year. You're making $250 billion a year. You could set money aside and take my technology, give me a piece of money, for my patent, and you take the patent and you make new cars that don't produce so much carbon dioxide in the air.
Yes, sir.
Period.
Yeah.
Okay, there's nothing hard about that. Right. And in this country, the government will actually help you with that. Right. I mean, you wouldn't even look what they did for the COVID-19 thing.
Right.
When COVID-19 was coming down and it was so far outside of our ability to control, they knew they were going to have to invent something that did not exist in order to attack this virus.
Yes, sir.
How are you going to get that done, and who's going to pay for doing the inventing? Now, you can't like much about Donald Trump, but you got to like this. Donald Trump said, well, I know you all don't have the kahunas. You got the money, but you don't have the kahunas to take a piece of your money and self-invest in developing a vaccine. I'm going to take a piece of the public's money, not Donald Trump's money. It's never Donald Trump's money.
I got the kahunas for that. I can do that.
But I can take some of your money. So Norm, when you were in your pocket, that one day it was like February of 2020, you went in your pocket and you was looking, you couldn't find your wallet.
Yes,
then you looked out in the hallway, your wallet was on the floor, but all the money that you had in it was gone.
Oh, yeah.
That was Donald Trump. He took the wallet out of your pocket and stripped the money out, right? But they put up $12 billion in money. I mean, they put their money together in less than a day. $12 billion.
He had to cover himself, though, Mr.
So Pfizer, Moderna, whoever all these pharmaceutical companies are, they had the cash resources they could go to do the research and the testing immediately.
And I'm sure
they started working on this in February of 2020, and by the end of December of 2020, they already had something in the area of 2 million vaccines in people's arms.
Right, and I'm sure Trump probably got a kickback somehow.
Well, I'm not gonna say that.
I'm sure
Willie H said that Trump got a kickback.
I'm sure. I'm almost.
I can't say that.
I'm sure he did. He made money somewhere.
But I'm sure he got a kick out of the fact that people were treating him like he was a good guy.
Yeah.
I bet he got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the important piece on this. So what we have now are these chaos agents that are in control of the House of Representatives, and they just can't seem to get their arms around things that make sense. But my issue with the Democrats always refer to this Republican behavior as extremism. But do they ever tell you what they mean by that? They just say, the Republicans are just extreme. Here we go, more extreme behavior. Well, what does that mean? I mean, it's extreme for me to vote every single year in every primary and every general election and every year since 1968. That's extreme voting, right? Because you couldn't vote any more than that. That's the extreme voting. But you wouldn't call me an extremist for that. I'm just a regular voter.
Right.
So you got to define what you mean by extreme. In my view, simply calling this stuff extremism is not enough. Democrats should be challenging Republicans, their threat to voting rights, their threat to education access, their threat to the humanity of all people. When I say humanity of all people, we keep using these letters, and maybe it's because it's just hard for us to say all of the words, but we call them LGBTQ plus whatever letters. In a sense, in my mind, even though they say it seems a bit dehumanizing to me, because you start losing your sense of what the letters mean. Go ahead.
Mr. Here, on the subject of extremism, I believe us as Democrats, we need to be more extreme ourselves. What I basically mean is the way that they come together, we need to be more democratic, and meaning that all of the Democrats need to come together
on the
same way on the same thing.
Right.
And we need to be more democratically extreme.
and even if you have a different opinion about something, you should still say, I got a different opinion about this humanity stuff.
Yes, sir.
But my core opinion is every human being has the right to the citizenship of America if they were born or naturalized in the United States of America. Everyone.
Yes, sir.
Regardless if their hair is long, their hair is short, if they're a man who wears a dress or they're a woman who wears pants, whatever all that stuff is, none of that is illegal. They have every right that any American has. Any right that any American has, every American has. That's the way you have to look at it.
And on every subject, it doesn't matter what it is. When we talk about self-interest, the Republicans stick together. We have to do the same thing, because if we don't, then we're separate, and we it's like they're winning every situation.
And it goes against the nature of being a Democrat, because the Democrats built themselves from the John F. Kennedy era to today. Mm-hmm. They built themselves around the ideation of being a big tent party, that you got capitalists, you got democratic socialists, you got super patriots, you got, Haight-Ashbury hippies, and so on. I mean, you have a lot of different kinds of folks that make up the Democratic Party.
Right.
Where the Republican Party is a fairly homogenous party. It's almost all white. They tend to focus on the issues of property owners, people that have wealth, people that have advantages to keep their advantages. That seems to be what they are focused on. So it's harder for Democrats to be all on the exact same page all the time. But if Democrats are going to be able to use their grouping for leverage, they've got to do what you just said. They got to say, for the purpose of this vote, we're all going to be on the same page for this vote, period. Even the Joe Manchins. I know he's trying to protect the coal industry because he gets his money out of the coal industry. I understand that.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to lose some money in order for the Democrats to continue to be able to wield the levers of power. You're going to have to allow yourself to be a part of what gets used. You can't be a Democrat and not actually work with the Democrats.
Well, I think Joe Manchin is like, that ain't happening, Captain.
I know that horse is out of the barn, right?
Yeah.
See, but the things that Democrats should be talking about are things like the constitutionally enshrined balance of power between the three different branches of government. It used to be, until Donald Trump became the president, that we had the judiciary, we had the legislative branch, and we had the executive branch of government. And there were rules about how they dealt with each other. If the executive branch, which has the Department of Justice, issues a subpoena on behalf of the legislative branch, that the members of the executive branch have to honor that subpoena. They just have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, the idea that you would have to send the U.S. Marshals to somebody's office and put them in handcuffs and take them to jail in a federal prison because they wouldn't honor a subpoena, that just doesn't cross Americans' minds. We never heard of that, But when have you ever heard of any American elected official being arrested because they refused to honor a subpoena issued by a judge out of the judiciary branch of the government? That's never occurred, right? But Donald Trump has put you in a position where, because he knows you've never done that before, he knows that if he tests you, that you're going to start waffling and coming up with all kind of rationales for why you shouldn't do it. And he'll use that waffling to create time. And over time, the issue becomes so watered down, become so diluted that they just drop it. So you got all of these people that subpoenas were issued against in the Trump administration, and those subpoenas just died.
Yeah.
Nothing ever happened at all, with those subpoenas. But what that does is it reduces the authority of the judiciary. If you reduce the authority of the judiciary, where does that authority go? It can't go to the legislative branch of government, because the legislative branch only creates laws or repeals laws, but it doesn't administer anything. It's the executive branch that administers stuff. So that power that you didn't allow the judiciary to exercise winds up going back to the executive branch of government. It makes the presidency stronger and stronger. Every time you don't do what you should be doing, you make that power accessible and then obtainable and then actually obtained by the president of the United States. That's a mistake.
Yeah, but then with that happening, so much time passes, and it just, as I'm just going up piggybacking on you, then it is watered down.
Right.
It's like it's over and over again.
Right. They even have rules on it. If you issue a subpoena out of the Congress, that subpoena is only valid until that Congress ends. So Congresses are in 2-year periods, right? So 2022 was the end of or the beginning of a new Congress. That Congress ends in 2024. When that Congress ends, any subpoenas that were issued by the Congress that was empowered in 2022, those subpoenas expire. You'd have to issue those subpoenas all over again with a new Congress. And of course, that's not going to happen, right?
Oh my God.
So that's how Trump and his people manipulate things. And the Republicans go along with it because Trump is their guy. And this allows them to be able to get their way. So that's how you have things going on now where the Department of Education is an executive branch of government. The DeSantis administration in Florida, they decided that we're going to decide what the educational standards are for the state of Florida, and we hope the rest of y'all follow us. So here's the new educational standard. These slaves, yeah, they learned some skills that they were able to use for their own benefit. Slavery wasn't as bad as they tell you about it. No siree. Slavery, it had potential. It was a mass education program.
Wow.
Dumb people became less dumb because of slavery. Don't you all agree? That's a standard now that's being taught in Florida today. That is being taught right now.
How can that be overturned, Mr. Hare? How can we? I mean, what can we do about that?
Remember that's a state level. So the federal government can't step in except through the Department of Education. The federal Department of Education could step in and say to Florida that we will no longer give any of the grants that we give to the state of Florida. We will no longer award those grants unless you end this abomination that you call your state curricula, and you go back to the curricula before you modified it like this. That's what you really have to do.
Okay.
But Florida may say, well, you only give me 11 or 12 billion dollars. You know, we can replace that with, or we'll just not replace it. We'll just let the kids be dumber. I mean, look at Alabama. I mean, Alabama told the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said that you got a state where 28% of the people in the state are black people. You have 7 congressional districts in your state. You would think that at least 2 of the 7 congressional districts would be dominated by black people, by African Americans.
Right.
But only 1 is, because the Republicans created the districts in a way
They broke it up.
that only one had a majority black population, and the rest of the black population was spread out, and they just found little ways to, strands that could cut this piece out, you know, and so on. And they therefore created a racially imbalanced district. The Supreme Court, which really is not a friend of African people, especially Clarence Thomas, not a friend of African people, but the Supreme Court said, this is ridiculous. This is exactly what the Voting Rights Act was designed to prevent, what you all are doing right now. That should not be done. Now, they actually had this case brought up last year, and the Supreme Court said, well, it's too close to the election for us to do something about it right now. So we'll pass this off until 2023. Well, now it's 2023. And the Supreme Court, at least to its credit, they took the case back up. They said that these new congressional districts in Alabama were invalid, and they told Alabama, you have to go back and redraw these district lines so that you have at least 2 districts that have a majority African-American population.
I wonder how that even got across.
Well, they sent it out this past week. They brought back the new districts this past week, and in the new districts that they brought, they had 2 districts that now have populations of about 40% African people in each of those districts. So now they have only 1 district that has, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. 1 district has a majority black population. Another district has a 40% black population. And none of the other districts, the other 5, have more than like 15% or 20% black population. So there's no possibility they're going to get an African-American congressman in those districts. So they basically told the Supreme Court, you know, they blew off the Supreme Court. Let me just say it that way. That's polite. I can say that. Willie, I can say that on the radio?
Yeah, you can say
that's okay. Yeah, they blew off the Supreme Court and said, no, we ain't going to do what you said. And they said it just like that. They said, we're not going to do what you said. You know, we can do whatever we want to do. Mm-hmm. We can do something that is sort of a veneer, because we're going to create 2 new maps for election districts. We're going to create a new map, but the map is still going to produce the same outcome as we had done before.
Okay, first off, just wanted now. Number one, it seems to me like that really weakens our whole system, the way that we have things, especially the judicial system. But with that being said, I just never would have thought that the Supreme Court would even give us this, because the way that things have been going with them, the way they've overturned Roe versus Wade, I didn't think that they would do anything. You didn't think the Supreme
Court would rule this way. Yeah. So I said, to the Supreme Court's credit, even though, like I said, they're not very friendly to African people, but they did, at least in this instance, because the case was so extreme, the Supreme Court ruled this way, that they had to come up with new maps. But the state of Alabama said, I don't care.
It's like it's watered down. It's like and it doesn't matter.
And so what do you do to enforce this? See, so that becomes the problem. The only way that you can enforce this is the Supreme Court would have to actually issue a order Now, I'm not even sure that could be done. The Supreme Court couldn't order the U.S. Marshals because all the U.S. Marshals could do is arrest somebody. They couldn't make the new maps. The maps have to be voted on by the state legislature of Alabama. So if you arrest people, it's still not going to get a new law passed.
So when it comes to voting time, it's like we're going to be just so spread out that the black vote won't matter anyway.
That's the only way you're going to be able to succeed. And even then, the note that I had written when I was preparing this discussion for today is that wherever the Republicans have a majority in any body, whether it's the state assembly, the state senate, county legislature, the House of Representatives, the House of the Senate, wherever the Republicans have a majority, they will use that majority to find choke points, procedural choke points where you have to pass by their doorway in order for you to move something along. And they will assemble in that doorway and prevent you from being able to move unless you give them what they want. They will hold you hostage on everything, even for what color envelopes, thanks, man, what color envelopes you have to send your mail out in. They will prevent you from being able to move forward on those things. This is something that has always been a possibility that could exist in a democratic society. There's always a possibility because you have to have procedures to be able to move things along. But we've never done it that way because people knew that if you start down this road, you're going to do something called balkanizing. You will balkanize the government of the United States. So then you just have all these little factions all over the country, and these factions will be fighting against each other. Well, right now you have a two-party system, but this is going to break down fairly quickly based on what's going on right now. This is not a good future for the democracy of the United States. And I'm not sure that people understand this, but this is the road that we are on. Once you start down this road, it's really hard to get off the road. Now you're going to have Democrats doing the same thing the Republicans are doing. Well, if you all are if you're blocking us, using these procedural hurdles and whatnot, we'll block you when it's our turn. A day's going to come when we're going to be the majority and you're going to be the minority, and we're going to be able to prevent you from doing things that you were trying to get done. Right now, you've got something in the area of 270 military appointments, people that are being promoted to being a first-star general or the head of a department or an office in the Department of Defense. You got 270 promotions or appointments that have not been confirmed in the U.S. Senate because one guy, a guy from Alabama again, Tommy Tuberville, he says, well, I really disagree with abortion. Now, Norm, you would probably say, what does abortion have to do with the Department of Defense? Yeah. And Willie would say, nothing. It has nothing to do with the Department of Defense. But there's a rule in the Department of Defense that if you're a woman and you want to get an abortion and it's illegal to get it in the state that you're in, you could travel to another state and get an abortion.
Okay.
And the cost of the travel, the airline ticket or the bus fare, whatever, you can charge that to the Defense Department, and the Defense Department will reimburse you for that travel expense. Now, they do that for any other kind of business that you're doing. If you have to go someplace to do something that's necessary for you to be able to do your work as a officer or a soldier in the United States government, they reimburse you for that expense. But because it was for abortion, and Tuberville says, no, we won't facilitate abortions at all. We don't want. The Hyde Amendment says you can't use federal money to do an abortion. You're not using federal money to do an abortion. You're using federal money to pay for somebody's travel.
That's right.
Something else is paying for the abortion.
Yes,
right?
sir.
But the Republicans are playing this game. And they got lots of people in the American public that are going along with this. What I'm trying to help us to understand is once you start down this road, it doesn't stop with abortion. It goes down to everything. Now they're taking critical race theory, which is not taught in any elementary or high school in the country anywhere. They've taken critical race theory and turned it into anything that says the word black. Not even anything critical. if it just has the word black in it. He can't teach that, in American schools.
No.
We only got 4 seconds.
Mr. Hare, nothing big, but that's why we all need to get out here and vote. I mean, every vote, every state vote, everything.
And register to vote.
Register and get our young people registered.
You can't have 1 million black people in New York State not registered to vote and then whining about what the outcome is of the election.
You deserve what you...
I appreciate you all. Thank you all for supporting us. Look forward to talking to you all on Wednesday here at Living for the People at 91.3 FM WBNY. We'll see you all then.